Hey, welcome everybody. It's time for Bollox Talks and Tangents. We are talking Manhunts today. I got Lenny over here still scrambling. We try and give him a heads up. We try and give him a warning. But every show, he's still doing the same thing. You get to look at the top of his head. That's what he does. And
I do well under pressure.
You did bring the microphone around, so congratulations.
I do well under pressure, brother.
Yeah. But we got a really, really fun show. I just wish you guys could see Lenny's board over there. Actually, no one can read what Lenny writes. The only person in the world with worse handwriting than Blake Blevins could be Lenny.
I'm here to take care of my friend Blake.
And you guys got that competition going all the time. But we have amazing, amazing word origins. Actually, I know mine are amazing. Yeah, we'll see how Lenny does. Are yours amazing?
Don't you worry.
Are you
Thematic.
The whiskey of the week is High West Double Rye. It's got kick.
Yes, it does.
Cheers, sir.
Absolutely, one of my favorites.
Welcome in. But first thing we got to do is we actually got to say thank you to our sponsors. And our sponsors are our sponsors are St. Augustine Distillery and City Gate Spirits. These guys have been with us quite a while. They just re-upped again for another 3 months.
Thank you very much.
So we're real excited to have that partnership. They're going to send in some moonshine. This time. So we're excited to do some of their moonshine from City Gate Spirits. Staying on sponsor row, Meehan's Irish Pub. Now, you were very sad today.
It was a bad day.
September is notoriously slow for St. Augustine, so it's a good time to do your spring cleaning in the fall. And for 3 days, Meehan's has been doing their spring cleaning. They'll be back open again tomorrow. Yep. Tomorrow they'll be back open, and when you get there, they have 3 different bars. They have the Johnny's Oyster Bar upstairs. They have the pub downstairs, and they have the backyard where there's usually live music on the weekend.
Tiki bar, yeah.
Yep. So
and a brand new floor in the pub.
Oh yeah.
Reggie likes putting new floors in when he closes.
He's a new floor guy.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. And just wonderful staff over there. Great food. Yeah. Always get a good meal there. But the other one on sponsor row is the Pirate Museum. You recently went to the Pirate Museum. Yep. They have over 800 original artifacts. They have one of 2 of the Jolly Rogers ever in the that's still around in the world. And they just do an amazing job. That same crew runs the Oak,
Colonial Quarter,
there, the Colonial Quarter. Just doing a great job. That whole area right there. Really appreciate them being our partners.
And it's going to be kind of vibrant now because the Oak is pretty big in the Sing Out Loud Festival.
They are very big in the Sing Out Loud,
a lot of good live
starts
music
tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
all over town. Look for it, folks.
All right, yeah, because there's a lot more than just Black Keys and Mumford & Son and Sing Out Loud. There's a lot of talent coming in town.
A lot of local, a lot of small bands.
A lot of songwriters. I mean, whatever you want to see in music over the next 3 weeks in St. Augustine, you should be able to see.
And it's a nice way to see some of the smaller venues in town as well, because a lot of places bring in some of these local musicians or singer-songwriters, and it's a great exposure to some of the smaller venues.
Yeah, there's a lot of local watering holes that are participating in this. So, all right, another great watering hole. To me, it's the best place to have a cocktail and enjoy the view. River and Fort. Go up to that rooftop, enjoy that view. They have 2 actually different menus. The rooftop menu is different than the actual dining menu.
And very nice. And
they create a completely different experiences in both locations. Great wine selection, great bourbon selection, and wonderful food.
Yep. And 360 panoramic views of the city.
Yes. Yeah. There's only one place where there's a better view. My rooftop. Good,
because I'm not climbing up the steps I'm not climbing up the steps of the lighthouse.
Well,
sorry.
Well, you can't get drinks at my rooftop,
right.
But you can get amazing drinks there. All right, you guys ate there today, right?
Breakfast at the Roosevelt Room.
The Roosevelt Room. And we have a guest in our parlor. The camera's not going on you, Julie, so don't worry. Julie just gave me a. Did you see that look?
Frightened look. Yeah, right. Like who, me?
There's no camera going on, but we do have a guest in the studio. So if you hear someone laugh or growl, it's not a loose animal in the studio. It's Julie.
She'll laugh at you. She'll growl at me. So you're safe.
Exactly. That's what the plan was. So welcome in the studio over there. But
hi, baby.
and Lenny, how long have you 2 been?
28. It'll be 29 years in October. A couple longer than that, yeah.
Couple. Oh, that's just married.
Yeah, we've been married for 28 years.
See, I always ask how long you've been a couple, because I think that's more important. Because you got to that point from the very beginning. I think it's more important how long you've been a couple.
33, 35, not counting we met when we were 15 and 16.
Oh, wow.
Years before.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, actually, it
I
really
think
is.
you guys are going to make it. Congratulations. You're doing okay. All right, staying with it, but your Roosevelt Room experience.
Yeah, it was very lovely. It was nice. I'm a little quiet because it is September, which is a great time if you're a local to exploit the city. I mean, I was parking on the bayfront. There's no crowds. It's a wonderful, wonderful time. And I had a very lovely breakfast, and I think you enjoyed yours as well. I had, they have a potato confit as one of the side dishes for their breakfasts, and those were just fabulous. Fingerling potatoes cooked in duck fat. It's nothing wrong with anything cooked in duck fat, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can't go wrong if
it's
got duck
just
fat on it.
real good. And I had a couple of fried eggs. They made nice biscuit, and I had a selection of jams. I took the peach habanero, and it is National Waffle Week, so they're doing a different waffle every day.
Oh,
yeah,
I might have to
different
stop in
waffle
there tomorrow.
every day. Yeah.
Give me that card back.
I was going to say, I can help you up. I can take good care of you.
All right. I can tell you this. I did a country fried chicken there over a biscuit that was just phenomenal last week. And it was just, their food is amazing. But they also are a great space for small events. They can take up to 75 people in a small event. So if you have a corporate gathering or something where you just want to kind of get together a fundraiser, or you're working with an organization, or if you just want to throw a party for yourself, a Lenny party.
Right, and which I do as frequently as I can. And a little shout out to our server, Ethan, was very, very lovely and very attentive.
There you go. Well, appreciate you, Ethan. All right, so give them a call and go down and see them. They do breakfast and lunch and special events. They do full catering for special events, and they'll work with you on that menu also.
Again, it's a varied menu. It really is.
All right. Abare, Kresge and Associates. These guys are my accountants. They keep me out of trouble. That's not an easy job to do. They're just the best in town. Give them a call. If you think you can do your taxes yourself and save money, you're not. You're losing money when you do that. Give Abare, Kresge and Associates a call. All right. Last but definitely not least.
Ooh, Coquina Coast Realty?
Coquina Coast Realty. This guy knows his real estate. I don't know if you know this.
I do.
But his name is Troy Blevins.
I hear he's pretty good at what he does.
Yeah, and his phone number is 904-669-7901. If you have commercial, if you have residential, if you're looking to list, even if you're questioning whether or not, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Doesn't cost you anything, to pick my brain a little bit. And give me a call, and we'll talk about, is this the right time for you if this is not the right time for you. So, Coquina Coast Realty, I'll try and do my best to do best by you. All right, word origins. What do you got, Len?
You want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
All right. Well, you know how I do so try to be thematic with our topic.
Thematic.
So, I started with the hole in the wall. So a hole in the wall is a small, modest, or in this case, an obscure place. So if you are trying to duck the feds...
Or the FUDs.
The FUDs, right, Elmer?
You gotta watch it.
Right. I thought
The Woxit Wabbits.
Yeah.
Silly wascal.
It's a place where you're going to hide out.
Okay.
And, in the late 1860s, all the way up to 1910, believe it or not, it was an outlaw hideout for Western banditos.
So it started in the 1860s, because I can tell you this.
Yeah.
Like, when I was thinking of a hole in the wall, I was thinking it happened during Prohibition.
Well, that's
Like
a different connotation,
where you were drinking and you're like looking through the hole in the wall, like, oh, is that the revenuers?
Right.
So that's what I always had in my mindset, but I never really looked it up. So it goes
Right.
all the way back to the 1860s.
Oh, absolutely. And there's the specific hole in the wall was about 40 miles outside of southwest of Casey, Wyoming, in the Bighorn Mountains. And it was in a bunch of sandstone cliffs, red sandstone cliffs. It was a beautiful place. And there was a cut you could get in there, and you get into a little bit of a sort of a canyon that's protected. It was very easy to defend for these guys. Okay. So you'd have a couple of, spotters on the hills, I'd say. So nobody was sneaking up on you for sure.
Yeah.
And they weren't getting close because you could shoot them before they even got close.
Unless the outlook was asleep.
Yeah, well, that's true, but that's why they usually had two.
Oh yeah.
One on each side of the entrance. You know, they had some log cabins in there. There were horses, and it was a great place. And then there was literally the Hole in the Wall gang. It was Butch Cassidy and the Hole in the Wall gang. So Butch Cassidy Sundance Kid had a gang that were there, and this is where and those and I'll talk about it a little bit more as we get into the subject matter tonight. But these outlaws were very collegial. You know, they were all buddies. It was very interesting to see how they all palled around. It was kind of fascinating.
Yeah,
and,
well, they kind of needed to be to say, hey, it's kind of like flashing your lights on the highway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there's a cop up there.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't go into Dodge City.
Which nobody does anymore. It's tough to do. Because half the time all your lights are on anyway.
Yeah, they're already on.
Right.
Yeah,
so but
I still do it. I'm old.
Yeah. Well, but it's also polite. Yeah, it also is.
It's old school.
Yeah.
And sorry, Sheriff.
Right, yeah, right, and he's a good sheriff. I like him.
Sorry, Sheriff.
And it's but it's also it's a forgotten courtesy because you talk to people nowadays. I don't think if we asked 10 people, I don't think 8 of them would know what we're talking about flashing your brights to warn somebody. Yeah. But just one last takeaway from the Hole in the Wall.
Actually,
the Hole in the Wall
I think
gang.
our apps tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Google guy. I'm not a Waze kind of guy.
Yeah.
It gets too confusing for me. And it wants participation, and I got to participate in driving.
Yeah. That's probably best.
But Paul Newman, when he was alive, and exceedingly charitable and philanthropic gentleman, he did a camp Hole in the Wall, and his charity was the Hole in the Wall. Which he got from when he was, hiding out with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids during the movie.
Yeah.
That's where he named his charity.
Well, there used to be a bar in DeLand called the Hole in the Wall.
Yeah.
So, and there wasn't a lot of gang members there, but it still was kind of a.
Right. Nobody wearing a 6-shooter and chaps.
Restaurant. Wasn't there a restaurant, the Hole in the Wall here?
I believe so. It was.
Wasn't it a breakfast place?
Yeah, well, it was technically called Leroy's Cafe, but the tagline is a hole in the wall.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And there's a lot of places like that, which is it's kind of fun. You want to find that obscure place.
All right.
Your turn.
All right. So mine, and I'm challenging you today.
Aha.
I'm going to throw down the gauntlet.
Ooh.
So do you know where it comes from?
Yeah, it comes from dueling.
Okay, it comes from dueling, but you know what the gauntlet is?
It's the glove.
You are very good. All right, it is the glove. So I thought it was more of a chalice. And because isn't a glass sometimes called a gauntlet? Isn't there a gauntlet that you drink out of?
Goblet.
Oh, okay.
A goblet would be a glass.
Okay, I'm still gonna have to look that up.
Okay.
I feel like there was at some point.
There could be.
Yeah,
there could be. I mean, chalice.
I
You're
got
right.
dropped as a baby, so I might have just heard it wrong.
You're right with chalice and goblet. I'm familiar with,
but it was an armored glove by the French. Now running the gauntlet comes
totally
from a completely different location.
Right.
All right, even though it's the same word, but running the gauntlet came from a different time altogether. And it's even used in Indian terms and some of those things of, how it's a rite of passage.
Yeah, or a punishment.
Yeah. And a lot of from childhood to manhood is where it originally came from. Right. But throwing down the gauntlet is taking off your armored glove and throwing it at the feet or the boots of another knight. And if he picked it up, that means he was up for the challenge.
You're on. Right.
He was taking up the gauntlet.
Right.
So I didn't realize it went all the way back to medieval times. Yeah. And so, throwing down the gauntlet basically means I'm challenging you.
Yep.
So I'm challenging you on your next word origin.
Well, again, what are we doing today? We're talking about manhunts.
Yep.
Well, my second word origin is on the lam. L-A-M, not L-A-M-B. We're not riding sheep after these people, or they're not running away on sheep.
Yeah.
So on the lam is basically running away, especially from the police. It's a slang term.
He's on the lam. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a slang
Everybody
term.
in our group was on the lam at some point.
Yeah. Started in about, they certainly were. Started in about 1900. Alan Pinkerton, head of the Pinkerton Detective Agency, found out that pickpockets who worked in, groups would say, lamb, 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 and it would tell them to avoid potential trouble. So drop whoever you're trying to pickpocket, let go of them, and scram.
Flashing the lights.
Yep, exactly.
We're back to flashing lights again.
Yep. By 1932, it morphed into, breaking out of prison.
Okay.
They're a lamb, which, by the way, is very topical because there's some guy who climbed out of a prison in Pennsylvania who's running all around the world nowadays. Apparently, they haven't caught him yet.
Yeah. Well, and there's the guy on Alcatraz that wrote the letter.
Yeah.
After 55 years, he wrote a letter saying, "Yeah, that was me that escaped."
Good for him.
Yep. So
Good.
that's
One got away.
That's out there on social media.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, good for him.
It's a little bit older story, but it's just now resurfacing on social media right now.
All right, swimmer, boat.
Yeah, well, it was a little bit of both. It was a raft and a swim.
Okay, good for him. I hope.
Yeah. So being on the lam, what's the origin of being on the lam?
It was from the pickpockets, and then by the time at 30s, it evolved into the term for breaking out of prison or running away from prison. And that was pretty much it. It started in the early 1900s or the late 1890s as pickpockets from warning each other with the flashing lights.
Why did they say lamb, lamb, lamb? Did they say?
No, it was just, hey, Chicky, cheese it to fuzz.
Okay.
Gotcha. Chicky to dick.
It might have been if they said something different, like cops, cops, cops.
Right. It'd be a little obvious.
Oh, that's me.
Right.
My bad.
Right. A little obvious. So that's where that came from. And
so it came from pickpockets.
Yep.
Was it in the U.S. or did it say?
It didn't. I mean, well, it was definitely part of the U.S. because Pinkerton was an American detective agency, so evolved out of the Civil War and into the late 1800s.
So
right.
Must have been a more Western.
Yeah.
More Western.
Well, but Pinkerton ended up getting into big cities. I mean, Pinkerton Detective Agency became the detective agency for quite some time, Alan Pinkerton.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right.
Go ahead.
Time to begin.
Wait, don't you have one more?
I got one more.
You got one more?
Oh, and it leads right into mine.
Okay.
So Geronimo! Did you ever jump off of a limb, climb in a tree, and yell, Geronimo? Okay. All right. Did you ever do that?
I have, but it's also going to play into one of my lammers.
Okay, one of your lammers. Well, I have the same one. Right, I have a lot of stuff on him. So. All right. So when I originally thought this, the first story I heard was it came from paratroopers, and they would yell Geronimo because that's how far they needed for clearance before they pulled their chute. Okay, that's the first story I heard.
Okay.
So I did a little more research today.
That seems a little quick.
And I got a little more clarification on it.
Okay.
So it does come from paratroopers. All right? And it comes from paratroopers, but when they did their first jumps and when they jumped out of the plane, they were supposed to yell their last name.
Okay.
So you're supposed to yell Blevins or Remo, and yell your last name. But this particular guy, his name was Abare Eberhardt. Okay? So the story goes, the night prior to his first test jump, one private by the name of Abare Eberhardt was boasting that he wasn't afraid to jump. He was bragging about, I'm so ready to go, I'm so ready to go. The other soldiers started to call his bluff. You'll be so scared you won't remember your own name. All right? To which he reportedly replied, all right, damn it. I'll tell you jokers what I'm going to do. To prove to you I'm not scared out of my wits, when I jump, I'm going to yell Geronimo. Because Geronimo is considered this fierce warrior.
Right.
All right, medicine man, fierce warrior. Loud as hell, and you can all go to hell, basically.
Kiss my tuchus.
And he did it. The story built up, and in World War II, all paratroopers, when they jumped out of airplanes, from that point forward, started yelling Geronimo. It might be their last word.
Right.
And they started yelling, to kind of give themselves a boost of,
they
courage.
weren't afraid, exactly.
Boost of courage. Right. So that's how it became. And then I'm sure when the paratroopers came back and started telling stories to their kids and their grandkids and stuff about it, that's how it went down to jumping off of, I jumped off of houses when I was a kid and yelled Geronimo. Yeah. By the way, the umbrella does not work.
Not well.
In case you want to know, it's not good for your ankles.
No.
It's not very supportive, even if you weigh 60 pounds. It doesn't help.
Yeah. Did Tayo Geronimo when you pushed him off?
Oh, thanks, Blake. Okay. Blake always likes to tell this story.
All right. Child Protective Services will be here in a couple of minutes. Don't you worry about a thing.
Ty was about 13. And Ty has a very limited vocabulary, but he wanted to go on this thing. It was at the fireworks that they do at the pier. Mm-hmm. And they had this place where you jumped into this air thing.
mattress, yeah.
You just kind of catches you, and then you bounce, and you're fine. Well, Ty gets to the top, and he decides, oh, I'm not really going to jump. And I was like, Ty, do you want to get down? He's like, no, jump yes. So I gave him a little shove. He kind of went down, and his foot went in between the cushion of where he broke his leg. So now I have a screaming autistic son in the middle of 10,000 people. I've just pushed him off of this thing, but he really wanted to go because that's when he says, jump yes, he was saying,
right.
I want to jump.
Right.
And that's how he broke his fibula. Mm-hmm. And I had to carry him, about a mile?
Yeah.
On my shoulders. He was.
Well, that's the very least you could have done.
He wasn't a little guy.
Right.
And I had to, because we were in the middle of the crowd. Fireworks are going off now. Just understand. Now that we realize I've now broken my child's leg, fireworks are going off around us. And Blake, thanks for making me tell this story all the time.
You're welcome. Don't worry.
Dad of the year lost again.
Right. Don't worry.
So close, though. You were so close.
He's broke his hip. Ty's broken a lot of bones.
Okay, the hip thing wasn't your fault. So
no, the hip thing was, I was not there when that happened.
Help him out, would you, Blake? Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. So I literally pushed him when he broke his hip.
Yeah, but it was consensual.
Well, I looked at his mom, and she's like, and she's like, yeah. So she agreed. So it wasn't just me that was there. So there was a teamwork on it.
Right.
But I was the one who actually pushed him. So, all right. Geronimo.
Go, please.
Okay, because you have Geronimo, I have Geronimo.
I do not have Geronimo. That's why
I thought you said you had him.
No. That's why. No, I knew you were doing him, so I want to learn. I don't know how much of this. I know some of it, and I know where he ended up. So.
All right. So he was born in 1829. Geronimo was not a chief. Did you know that?
No.
He was a medicine man.
Ah, okay.
So I always thought Geronimo was a chief, but he was only a medicine man. But everyone followed him as if he was a chief. And he was on the run for 25 years. He was captured once and escaped. All right? And he was on the run, and he finally, after all that time, got run down by General Miles. Did you ever see the movie Geronimo?
No, I don't think I have.
All right. In the movie Geronimo, they talk about when he gets captured. When he gets captured, he's going to go to Fort Marion.
Right, which is, by the way, for those of you scoring at home, that's the Castillo. The Castillo is Fort Marion when it was a new U.S. Army fort. Yeah,
it's the Castillo de San Marcos. Right. And he never made it there.
Really?
Okay. Two of his wives made it there.
Right, he ended up in, Pensacola?
They stopped him in Pensacola, kind of made him a tourist attraction.
Right.
Photography was just kind of becoming the norm and regular, most of the time, most of the time it was just for the elite that were able to get their picture taken. Right. And it was starting to really come into play. But it was in 1886 when he was actually captured. And at one point, 25% of the U.S. Army was targeted for chasing Geronimo.
Wow.
All right. And he tried, so he actually signed a treaty at one point, and then 60 of his men out of the 120 men and women escaped in the night. Like, they signed it. They're like, oh, okay, we'll be good.
Right.
And they were out.
Yeah, right.
So
see ya.
And they got out of there. But he continued to do several raids. But General Miles took over the pursuit, and he's the one and that's what the movie's about, is the pursuit of Geronimo from General Miles. And
where did they catch him?
Just inside of Mexico.
Oh, okay.
So, but it was actually along the Arizona, New Mexico.
Well, those borders were they were kind of fluid back then.
Blended together, but it was. Some people are saying it was just inside of Mexico. Arizona claims Arizona.
Right.
New Mexico claims, So that's kind of how that story goes. All right. But I didn't realize how long he actually lived. So Geronimo was born in 1829. He died in 1909.
Okay.
So he's 80 years old. For that time, living that long in those conditions was incredible. So the guy who did his documentary, Geronimo's story of his life, said he had at least 50 scars or battle wounds or stuff like that. Geronimo said he was only shot 8 times.
It's a good medicine man.
Yeah, that's a good medicine man.
That's physician heal thyself. Yeah. Apparently he did.
So,
often.
One of the things that a lot of people and his followers thought that he was psychic.
Okay.
So when other tribes were getting attacked, he could feel it, and he would say, "We need to go help them." And that happened more than once where their followers said, "We didn't even know this was happening," and he took the warriors to him.
So he's empathetic. Okay.
Yeah. So he spent the last 23 years of his life in prison. All right. In 1905, he participated as a prisoner. He participated in Teddy Roosevelt's inauguration as being president.
Well, I don't know if you have it, but there's a great picture of Geronimo sitting in a car.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty famous picture that's easy to. Do you have it?
No, but in the inauguration parade, he rode a horse.
Right.
In Washington, D.C. He rode a horse along with some other chiefs and warriors. But at that
Chiefs
point,
are playing the Lions tonight. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, without Kelsey.
Right.
But at that time, 2 days later, after the inauguration, he asked Teddy Roosevelt for a pardon.
Right. And
he asked Teddy Roosevelt to allow his people to go back west, and Teddy denied him.
Oh, Teddy.
He invited him to the inauguration, but he didn't give him his freedom.
That's a little rude, actually.
After 20 years of being a prisoner and 25 years of being on the run.
Yeah. Blake, I don't know if you can find it real quick, but there's a picture of Geronimo sitting in a car, with one of those, hats that were not a war bonnet. So.
Yeah. So he died in 1909. Mm-hmm. 4 years later, under Taft,
right.
His people were allowed their freedom.
Okay. Thank you, William Howard.
Yeah.
All right. That's nice.
Yeah. So that's my Geronimo story.
Okay.
But General Miles is the one, and it kind of came down to Geronimo. Pretty much, his people were starting to starve. His people were starting to not be able to continue the journeys that they were having to do because they were constantly on the move.
Right, and they were being chased or persecuted.
Yeah, they were. He was the number one person on the wanted list. So, but he was never a chief. Like Osceola was never a chief.
Right.
But he was a medicine man.
Right.
So,
well, it was a good one apparently because he lived a long life and apparently took care of all his scars.
Yeah, he got wounded a lot.
Yeah.
He got wounded a lot. So what you got?
Well, I'm gonna. You're giving me such a softball of a natural segue here.
Okay.
D.B. Cooper.
Yeah.
D.B. Cooper. Many people should know.
Never found him.
No, not at all. And
some people tried to claim they were him. But
and they have no idea. And as a matter of fact, part of it was the fact that a newspaper reporter, he said his name was Dan Cooper, and a newspaper reporter conflated that and became D.B. Cooper, and that wasn't even the alias that he gave. Mm-hmm. But D.B. Cooper was a guy who in 1971 paid cash at the last minute for a ticket on a Portland to Seattle Northwest Orient flight to take his flight from Portland to Seattle.
Just Portland to Seattle.
Just Portland to
That's
Seattle.
A short little flight.
Yep. Gets on the plane, sits in the last row.
Okay.
And hands a stewardess or a flight attendant in today's lexicon a note, and the woman takes it and sticks it in her pocket, presuming it was just some other man giving her a phone number.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she thought. And he said, no, you really want to read that now. And she takes it out and says, "Hi, I have a bomb." Mm-hmm. And she goes, "Excuse me?" I said, "Yeah, it's a bomb." And she says, "Yeah, I'm not buying it." So he opens his bag, and she looks in, and she sees 2 rows of red cylinders, some wires, and what looks like a battery. So she's going, well, maybe he does have a bomb, which has never been, verified one way or the other. But again, they were still looking for him.
Yeah.
So
maybe we should ask him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if we can find him, that'd be good. So he asked for a $200,000 ransom. Mm-hmm. That's it. Which in today's money is $1.4 million.
Okay.
So it's $1.4 million. They
not a bad day's work.
Nope. They land. They circle back. It takes a while for everybody to figure out what's going on. They circle back to Seattle. They land. They let the passengers out in exchange for 4 parachutes,
Okay.
and $200K. And he asked for the money in a backpack. And they give it to him in a satchel. He's going, yeah, no, I'm not too happy about this satchel. And when he got on the plane, he had a briefcase and a paper bag. And the briefcase held what was ostensibly the bomb. So he asked for 4 parachutes, and the guy's kind of shrewd there because he figures if I'm asking for 4 parachutes, they will probably extrapolate my thought process and think that, you know what, I'm going to take a hostage with me or a couple of hostages with me so they can't give me parachutes that are inoperable.
Yes.
Because otherwise, these people
don't know
are
who's
jumping.
getting which one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they give them, and they have to, scrounge for these. So they get 2 regular parachutes and 2, back parachutes,
Okay.
which would be your emergency chutes.
Yeah.
And he gets in. So, they get back on the plane and he goes, okay, fine, here's the deal. He gives them
So it's
explicit
just the
instructions.
stewardess and the pilot and the co-pilot.
The customers are off the plane. He keeps the 2 pilots and the crew. So there's there's six crew members, the 2 pilots and 4 flight attendants, and him.
Okay.
And he gives them explicit instructions. I need you to do this. I need the flaps at 15%. I need the backs, because this was a 727. So I don't know if you've been on a 727, but those are the planes that have the stairs that come out of the back bottom of the plane.
Yes.
So it's the back thing. So he says, and I want those. Well, we can't fly with the plane. Yes, you can. And
you will.
Right. So apparently there's,
according to them, they can't fly the plane unless I'm in airplane mode.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You ever watch the first episode of West Wing? There's a great scene where Toby Ziegler, played by Richard Schiff, is the communications director for the Bartlett White House, and the woman's going, "Put your phone in play," and he's going, "You know what? This is this kind of plane. It has this kind of," and he just runs a litany of explanation to why. It makes, and I shouldn't say that because nobody's going to turn their phone into airplane mode again.
No reason to turn off.
I completely agree.
Blake, did it affect our plane anytime we flew in not in airplane mode?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't affect anything.
No, but it's if you watch the very first West Wing when Toby Ziegler, is confronted by the stewardess and he just, chapter and verses her, go away, please. I'm a little busy here.
Yeah.
But so he tells them to leave the flaps at 15%, leave the back stairs down, and let's go. And they say, yeah, but if we're doing that, we're using too much. It's fine, not a problem. We'll stop and refuel. So he gives them a flight plan. We're going to Mexico, but I'll let you stop in Reno, Nevada to refuel the plane. So they do this whole thing, and they this convoluted flight plan, and he then sends everybody up into the front of the plane and says, draw the curtain. So he's the only person in the back of the plane. Now, he wanted the money in a backpack, but they don't give him one. So he takes one of the parachute bags, rips the parachute out, cuts all the strapping in that, and puts the money in the parachute bag that he can hold on to a little bit better there. And
He can strap it to himself.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Probably strapped it frontwards so that
you would
it
think,
wouldn't affect the other.
right.
Yeah.
But
we don't know.
We have no clue.
Yeah.
And they're flying around and they're ready to go, and they don't know at any point in time when he decides to wander down the stairs and jumps out of the plane.
Yeah.
Now, it was dark night. It was a rainy night, which I'm getting mixed signals because someplace said it was a clear night, but it was cold because this is the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And
It's always cold.
And they kind of...
Didn't they say it was at like 22,000 feet?
No, it was lower than that because they were flying lower because of the flaps.
Okay.
So, and they're going, well, this guy can't have experience with parachutes. They have all this conjecture, and they have no idea. And they end up eventually misconstruing the entire flight path or where he may or may have jumped, that they go back. It's like 5 years later, they realize, wait a second, he jumped over here, not over there. And they go back. I mean, they've got U-2, they've got, they've got reconnaissance flights, they've got helicopters. The FBI is getting all excited about this. And, they don't even come close.
Yeah.
What
year is this?
This was in
1970?
1971.
71.
And they figure that the guy, there's no chance he could have survived. Well, later on, some people are going, he had a trench coat on, and the only thing he left, he took everything with him. He took all the notes he wrote. He took everything. They tried to get DNA off of the cigarettes he was smoking. They didn't get any DNA off of that. And then it got weird because stuff was given to the Las Vegas Police Department. And all of a sudden, the cigarette butts disappeared and all this other stuff. All the evidence they had all disappeared, so they couldn't do any DNA tracing or anything like that. Nothing. They have a couple composite drawings, no photos, but composite drawings. And
so where is D.B. Cooper?
Well, they figured he was dead in a tree someplace in the Pacific Northwest until somebody said, because he's jumping in loafers with a trench coat, and he had a clip-on tie. The only thing that was left on the plane was a clip-on tie and a tie bar, a mother-of-pearl tie bar, which was sold in J.C. Penney's, as a matter of fact. They figured that one out. They were good at that. But somebody figured out, well, holy cow. From everything this guy's saying, he knew about airplanes. So maybe he worked for Boeing. Maybe he was, an aeronautical engineer or things of that nature. And then they said, and what the heck was in the brown paper bag? Now people are going all of a sudden, when everybody moved up to front and he closed the curtain, guy's putting on boots. He's changing into a position where he could jump out of the airplane and survive.
Yeah.
Now,
he's helping his chances.
They never found. They eventually found a body in a barn, and it turns out it was some woman, a teenager who had sadly been abducted and kidnapped, and they found her skeletal remains in the general search area, but it wasn't him. The only thing they were able to find from this was, I want to say in 1981 or at some point in time, an 8-year-old boy is playing by the banks of the river and finds 3 packets of money. 2 complete packets of $120 bills with the original rubber band, and one that had 90. So they found $5,800 of the ransom money. Now, to this day, they have never found anywhere where that money has been spent. Now, it could have been, lax surveillance, but they had all the serial numbers written down, all the bills photographed before they gave it to him, and none of it has turned up that we know of to date, other than these.
But if he made it to Mexico.
But no, he jumped out. Well, he may have, but he jumped out. He jumped out in Washington State, right? Exactly, right. So finally, after and the interesting thing is, the insurance company for Northwest Airlines paid off the insurance, and then this kid finds this. They let him keep 15 or 20 of the bills, which he auctioned off for $37,000 for auctioning off, right? And then the insurance company got some of it back. So that was D.B. Cooper. After 45 years, the FBI said, we're done. We need to spend our resources elsewhere. So in 2016, they closed the case and stopped making it an active investigation.
Yeah.
So D.B. Cooper,
we still don't know.
Wherever you are,
hopefully you're watching the show.
Send us some money.
Make sure you share.
Right.
Make sure you share.
Right. Put your share button. You're up.
Here's one I don't know if you have. Operation Vengeance.
No, I'm intrigued by this. I have an idea, but I want to hear.
Operation Vengeance. All right. So Operation Vengeance is the chase and hunt for Admiral Yamamoto.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know this.
Okay. So Admiral Yamamoto is the mastermind behind Pearl
Harbor. Right.
All right. So, and I have Bin Laden also. So we're talking 2 masterminds that attacked, and they killed almost the exact same amount of people.
Yeah, 3,000 some odd. Yeah.
All right. But from December 7th, 1941 until May of 43, we were chasing Admiral Yamamoto. All right. And I'm going to grab the intelligence that came from this chase of Admiral, and it was, I never heard of Operation Vengeance.
No, that's why I'm intrigued.
And I like the history. I knew about Admiral Yamamoto, but I didn't know about the chase
that we went looking for him.
That was involved in it. So, basically, I'm sorry, I said May. It was April of 43. So, Yamamoto was the commander of the fleet for the Navy, or for the Japanese Navy. All right. And he was killed near an island called Bougainville Island, and that was basically just off of the Solomon Islands. Okay? But how they caught him is what makes it so interesting. And he was caught he was going to do an inspection. Okay. He was going to do an inspection, and they had it was a scheduled inspection of Solomon Islands and New Guinea. And how they caught him, the U.S. Naval Intelligence, codenamed Magic, intercepted encrypted orders alerting what the Japanese were doing on tour.
Okay.
The most interesting part of this is the radio fleet, the person that basically, the Navy cryptographer, who did the deciphering, later became Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens.
Really?
Yeah. So that's how they caught him. And then they shot down they shot down multiple planes Japanese said they only shot down 2. U.S. said they shot down 3. But that was the demise of Yamamoto. And it was a 2-year chase from the time of Pearl Harbor that we're going after this guy.
They were shooting down any of those planes, hoping he was in one of them.
Well, they knew he was in that convoy of planes, so they shot down them all.
So in the land of tangents that we go on, and it's too bad that I'm less prepared for this, but as you're talking about that, it's reminding me of 2 really diligent manhunts, both by the Israelis.
Okay.
One for Mengele.
Okay.
And one for the Munich
Well, I just did that. That anniversary was 2 days ago.
Oh, yeah.
So it was on Tuesday.
That was
This
Day in History?
That was on that was on the morning show. And what was unique about that story is that's the first news story I remember. I was 5 years old.
The Munich massacre.
I was 5 years old, and the reason I remember it is, do you remember who reported on it?
Yeah, it's a sportscaster, and I'm trying to remember who it was.
Why World of Sports?
Yeah, so I don't know if it was Kurt Gowdy.
Jim McKay. No, it was
Jim
McKay. Yeah, it was before Kurt. Yeah. And Jim McKay was, I mean, in like every Saturday.
Now I can visualize.
Every Saturday I watched the agony of defeat.
Right.
And
see, I got the thrill of victory.
Yeah. So, the thrill of victory. Agony of defeat. I'd love the Harlem Globetrotters, not going to lie. But because Jim McKay.
The poor ski jumper.
But because Jim McKay was reporting on it, it kept my interest. Oof. And
that was gut-wrenching.
He did an absolutely amazing. It showed his brilliance as a reporter. But that was my very first news story that I remember, and that was the 72 Munich, and that ended so poorly.
Yeah.
So,
but there's a movie called Munich, which shows the Israeli finding and hunting down all the people that were involved in that, and they were pretty darn successful.
Yeah. And
then there's another movie, and I don't remember the name of this movie, against the Israelis going to get Joseph Mengele in Argentina.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah. No, they got him. They got him good.
But at the time,
and it might have been Eichmann. As a matter of fact, I may be mistaken that they might have gotten Eichmann and extradited Eichmann back to Israel.
Yeah. But Yamamoto, he had already suffered his defeat at Midway.
Right.
So he had already been a little bit downplayed as a Japanese, because he was instantly a rock star in Japan
after Pearl
Harbor. And after his death, he did become what is the highest rank, like a field admiral. But he was given that rank after his death.
Posthumously. Interesting that, after Midway, that he didn't commit seppuku or harikari or,
They still needed him. Well, he was actually, I think he offered it to...
Oh, really?
I think he offered it to the military is what I read. And they were like, no, you have value.
Okay.
They even though it was an unhonorable fight, you still have value. So it was, I think he offered to do that.
Okay.
So,
and it's smart of them to, keep a brain that they can use,
and
not to our advantage.
Because he was such a hero, it became a real kill in morale of the Japanese
when we got him,
because he was considered almost godlike. So
they did inflate the importance of those humans into ethereal beings.
Yeah, they're still human, but he was recognized as the great victor.
Yeah.
And when that happened, it was like, oh crap.
Yep. Short-lived.
So it was a major turning point of World War II.
Yep.
That manhunt happening.
Wow.
And the U.S. definitely publicized it and pushed it out and did all that to make sure that propaganda was getting back to Japan.
But you know what we should publicize more?
Our amazing sponsors.
Indeed, we should.
And I'm going to rush through these because we are way over the halfway point. Coquina Coast Realty, give me a call, 904-669-7901. Abare, Kresge and Associates, all I can say is the best accountants in town. Give them a call. They're incredible. The Roosevelt Room, check them out if you haven't checked them out. You checked them out
Have the potatoes. Have the potato confit, baby.
Telling me I have not had a bad meal there. The avocado toast, phenomenal.
Yep.
Not going to lie. And did you guys try the bacon?
No, I had sausage patties. I'm a sausage patty kind of guy.
The candy bacon
wow.
as an appetizer. Oh. Blake, me and you got to do the candy bacon this weekend.
Wait, hold on. Wait, you mean next weekend?
Oh, next weekend. Blake's going to Pittsburgh this weekend, opening for the Steelers.
Nice.
Kid's got a rough life. He's got a rough life. Just came back.
It is good to be him.
Yeah, you know,
All right.
spoiled parents spoiling him from both ends. All right, River and Fort. I'm telling you right now, one of the best bourbon selections in town. We know about this.
Oh yeah.
And they have a great wine selection. The Grand Tower, to me, is the best appetizer in town. Wonderful people. The owners are working on a new restaurant, a new Italian restaurant that I can't wait to see. It's going to be wedged right between the Hilton and Harry's restaurant there.
I'm
really
very
super
excited about that. I
for
figured it'll be 2
Bob,
years, but I'm ready.
Bob and Jeff. I think they have finally got through their archaeological dig.
Oof, that can slow you down. Oh my goodness! Did they find anything?
Oh well, we're not going to talk about it.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Speaking of that, St. Augustine Pirate Museum.
There you go. Talk about your archaeological stuff.
Cannonballs everywhere.
Absolutely.
But it's right there on Sponsor Row. I mean, everybody else calls it the Bayfront, but we call it.
Hey, take good care of us. Sponsor Row is where it's at.
Sponsor Row is where it's at.
Citygate Distillery.
Citygate Distillery, also located on Sponsor Row. They have one of the best tours in town, tasting tours. Get over there, try out all their spirits. You're walking out of here today with some maple syrup.
Talk about
whiskey.
bacon.
Yeah.
Bacon, yeah.
Yeah, maple, you know,
And a little bit
you
off.
can pour it right on your bacon.
Absolutely. A little bit off the beaten path, we've got the St. Augustine Distillery, which is, where bourbon comes
Yeah,
from.
it's right on Riberia there.
It's where bourbon comes from.
And I can tell you, they were named top tour for a distillery in the United States.
If you haven't taken it, go. It's a great way to spend a little bit of time. And like everything else, it ends in a gift shop. But this gift shop gives you tastings. So it's not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
And they treat locals very well. So let them know you're a local because they'll give you a discount.
They have a great
believe.
bourbon. And if you're a bourbon drinker, try their port finished bourbon.
Yep.
It's, to me, one of the smoothest bourbons I've had.
Delicious.
It's an excellent
nice
job.
little extra sweet tinge to it.
All right. Meehan's Irish Pub. Not open tonight, but they'll be right back.
Ready for you
kicking it
tomorrow.
With a new floor
Ready
in
for
the
you
pub.
tomorrow. Yep,
Tomorrow
yep.
night.
Go Reggie, you owe me one.
Go see Reggie and the guys. Just great food, great time, wonderful bartenders.
Great staff everywhere.
And you know what? I got to give a shout out to my man Kaiser.
My buddy.
You're
my dear friend.
You're still helping him out of there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was with him this afternoon.
Wonderful human being.
Yep.
And I can tell you right now, there's not a better pastrami in town.
No. Nope. Kaiser's Deli.
Yeah.
4 White Street. Can't miss it.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Just, and sorry I parked in your parking lot last night without asking. But did we talk about the Pirate Museum?
We did.
This time around?
We did, I believe.
Okay. Did we, Blake?
I
feel like I left them out.
I believe so, but it's definitely nice to shout them out again.
Yeah, because they're that wonderful. They're also re-upping with us as a sponsor.
Very nice.
So I just want to say
it's fun
thank
for
you to
children of
all
all
our
ages.
sponsors and allowing us to do what we do.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of fun doing
Yes.
this.
We have very much fun doing
But
this.
we'll say that we definitely need to get the captain back in here to tell more pirate stories.
Oh, we can get the captain
I'd
back.
like that a lot.
Next time Lynn goes on vacation, we might have to, either that or we have to rearrange the studio. We can put him right in the middle. Get a little stool.
Yeah, because I'd like to be here for that.
Get a little stool for the captain.
He's right. Yeah, because he was a little under the weather. He wasn't there when we took my nephew. So,
he was.
Yeah, no, he was under the weather. He wasn't feeling well.
Captain Mayhem, I hope you're feeling amazing.
Okay.
All right, so what is the next story you got?
I want to go with John Dillinger
because we did a lot of DB, of DB there.
Yeah, I want to go with John Dillinger if you don't mind,
let's do that.
because we were talking about how all these Wild West bandits, were very collegial and would play together in the hole in the wall.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm finding out, John Dillinger, and when they got John Dillinger, it was everything alluded to it being the end of the gangster era, and these were all Depression era gangsters, and none of them had a really, really long career. You would think they would have been around for ages and
like
ages.
Pirates.
Yeah,
Pirates were only
a couple
there
years.
for a couple years.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
hard life.
Yeah, but Dillinger was around for 2 years, 3 years, except for the fact that he was also in jail from 1921 to 1930. But he died. He was 31 years old when he died. This is not an old man.
Yeah.
Of course, he was set up by a woman. Of course.
Your wife's right there. Right?
I know. What do you think I'm looking at you?
You said that out loud. I didn't know. I didn't know if you knew you said it out loud, but you said that right out loud.
Well, he was.
Don't backpedal. Don't backpedal.
No, I'm not.
You said that out loud.
It's factual. He was set up by a woman.
Maybe if you're watching this show, it wasn't me.
The Shaggy defense?
Wasn't.
She traded the potential, and by the way, and she got.
He wasn't that good of a dude anyway.
But she got screwed over by the government because she turned him in so that she wouldn't get deported. Well, they do. They deported her ass. Oh no. This was not very nice of them. She gave them, most wanted person, number one, and
she didn't even get citizenship.
Nope, she got deported.
Yeah,
she got deported.
Well, next time, let's not just say, "Of course, it is by a woman."
Well, in this case, she set him right up. Well,
when you said, "Of course, it was by a woman."
Fine.
Okay, so
you're not helping. You're not helping me here.
So you're clear in your argument later. Fall on the sword.
Hey, Blake, I saw you drove. Can I have a ride home, please?
Fall on the sword is all I'm saying.
Lenny.
I got so many holes in me. I need Geronimo's medicine man.
You need a medicine man right now.
I drink water. It comes out of all my holes. So don't worry.
Where did Dillinger get caught?
Chicago. And as a matter of fact, I've seen it. He was, he was active. He robbed 12 banks. He escaped jail 3 times, including one from an escape-proof jail. They locked him up through an escape-proof jail, added extra guards. Not only did he escape, he took 15 prisoners with him.
Well, he's
absolutely.
Misery loves company.
Yeah, and the conjecture was, was it a gun he carved out of a bar of soap? Was it a gun he carved out of a shelf, or was it a real gun that somebody smuggled in? Doesn't matter. He got out. Took 15 prisoners with him. He had robbed 12 banks between 1933 and 1944. And
I thought you said his career was only 2 years.
33 or 34.
Oh, I thought you said 33 and 44.
No, 30. No.
Oh,
no. He was dead in 34.
I heard you in 44. And I was
I'm sorry.
That's 11 years.
1934 was a very, very, very bad year for bandits and outlaws in the Depression.
Okay.
And I'm gonna run that by you in a second.
Okay.
He had set up for some plastic surgery. He burnt off his fingerprints. He had done some cosmetic surgery. So this woman, Anna Kompianis, who was Eastern European descent, went by the name of Anna Sage, and she was not an unsavory character in her own right. She was a prostitute and a madam, and she ratted him out. And she was you always heard the story about the lady in red, which is interesting because she actually talked Dillinger's girlfriend into wearing the red, which was actually an orange dress, which was the signal for the FBI that this is where he was.
This is where he's at.
Yep, exactly.
Got it.
So they come out of the theater.
So the song "Lady in Red," did it originate from this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
I don't think so. We have to
I
call.
saw the movie "Lady in Red." It's completely different.
We'll call Lionel Richie.
There's no Dillinger or deportation in it.
But it was so they come out of the theater, and Melvin Purvis, G-Man, lights a cigar, and that was the signal.
Blake, who's one of my favorite baseball players?
Johnny Bench.
No, you weren't. Blake, you weren't listening to the story. What did you just say?
Melvin Purvis, G-Man.
G-Man.
Okay.
Oh, G-Man Troy.
Yeah.
All right.
Come on, man, pay attention in there.
There'll be a quiz later.
I'm scolding people today. What the hell's going on?
You're a little wound up, but that's okay. It's good for you. It's good for your blood pressure.
That's all I mean.
Yeah, I got my ass in trouble, so help me out here, man.
Try the bacon.
Exactly. You're right. Tip your waiters. We're here all week. So they went to the Biograph Theater where they saw. All
right, we're going to have to shorten up your stories. We only got like 6 minutes left.
Manhattan. All right, fine. So I'm going to cut right to the chase. John Dillinger was played in the movies by, and I'm just doing the celebrities, Warren Oates, Robert Conrad, Mark Harmon. How do you like that one, dear? Yeah. Martin Sheen.
Okay.
And Johnny Depp.
All right. Okay. Here's a question I got for you.
Go ahead, because I got another one too.
Robert Conrad.
Right.
All right. Robert Conrad is right up there with Tom Cruise with me. All right.
Short guys.
They're both about 5'4"
short guys,
and try and play badass.
A lot of heels. A lot of heels.
Yeah.
Boots.
A lot of heels.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Neither one of them, even when I was a kid, did I think Robert Conrad was a badass.
He wore very high-waisted pants in the Wild Wild West. It was a weird outfit.
His pants were too tight.
And high-waisted.
Hoss would crush him.
Yes.
And, they made him sound like he was the coolest. The only thing cool about Jim West, Wild Wild West, Robert Conrad, was his train.
Artemis Gordon, the train car.
I wanted to have my own
train.
That
was a great train
because
car.
of Jim West. Yeah. But I can tell you right now, Robert Conrad, Tom Cruise, same category. Trying to play tall people that are tougher than what they are.
Right.
Be who you are.
Okay.
You Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, easy with the Oompa Loompas.
Sorry.
That's all right. So,
but you don't try and be tall.
No, I just throw a tall shadow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
you cast a long shadow.
He gets killed in July of 1934 at 31. Mm-hmm. Okay, 34 was a very, very year, and that was sort of the end of the gangster era, though it wasn't. Yeah. So Bonnie and Clyde are killed in May of 1934 in Louisiana.
Long chase.
Forever and ever, and they had to bring a retired Texas Ranger.
We might have to do this one over again.
I'm loving this one because they brought a retired Texas Ranger out of retirement, Frank Hammer, and that's a great movie, The Highwaymen.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis and Kevin Costner play the guys that chase him down.
No, it's a good movie.
That's a great movie. So, Bonnie and Clyde, May of 34. John Dillinger, July of 34. Pretty Boy Floyd, October of 34. And Babyface Nelson, November of 34. All dead at the hands of the feds. All dead.
And what I hear, good year for the police.
Yeah. Crime don't pay.
Yeah.
Crime don't pay.
Yeah. It's right in the middle of the Depression, right after Prohibition.
Right. And you know how much money in total Bonnie and Clyde robbed in their sprees, which is also again in just another couple of years.
It was like 36,000.
I thought it was like 300,000.
Was it that much?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But it was not a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had killed. Yeah, they were bad people. They had killed.
They were ruthless.
Yeah, 12 murders.
Yeah, I think
9 law enforcement officers.
Like 13 is what I saw. So I mean, there's really when crimes at that level.
Yeah.
There's no accuracy because there might be somebody on the side of the road that pissed off Clyde because he had such a hot temper.
Right.
And Clyde was in prison, and that was another short-term relationship.
Yeah, they were only a couple of years.
Yeah.
It was, meteoric and boom. Yeah. And she wanted to be buried next to him, and her parents fought that, and she got buried. I mean, they both buried in Texas, somewhere in and around Dallas. Yeah. She got buried in her family plot, and he got buried next to his brother. Yeah. But you know where they got caught? Is because they were very, very big into family.
Yeah.
So they were going to see their parents.
Well, they were they were like the first Instagram couple. Because they were taking pictures and sending them. They were sending pictures to like different newspapers as a couple to kind of like snub their nose at the cops and stuff like that.
And they were very
both of them's body whistled at the end.
Yeah, a lot of holes in them. Very, very folk hero because of the sexualization of it and the fact that they were sleeping together, and that was very titillating for the public. Mm-hmm. But public sentiment changed dramatically when they gunned down 2 police officers.
Yes.
And then the public turned right on them.
Yeah. All right. We got to move on. I want to move on to one that's close. We only have 2 minutes. And you were probably pretty close to this in 77 and Son of Sam.
Right.
All right. And Berkowitz, and I didn't really put a timeline to it. He's still alive.
David Berkowitz?
Yes.
Still in prison?
He's still in prison. He's at Shanwaunock Correctional Facility in New York.
Okay.
And he's still alive. All right. He was up for parole it was 78. He was up for parole in 2003. So for 20 years, he's been asking for parole. All right. So I was like, oh, he's got to be really, really old. He's 70.
Yeah, he wasn't old when he was doing it.
It was so long ago, but he was only 24 when this happened.
And he was a dumpy kind of guy.
Yeah. Well, he was touched a little bit.
Yeah.
It was the dog that, he actually,
right.
And you know how he got caught?
No.
A parking ticket.
Right. Okay.
A parking ticket's how he got caught.
It was the dog that told him to do it, right?
It was the neighbor's dog. He hurt the neighbor's dog. And that was another report when they showed up to talk to the neighbor's daughter. They're like, oh, yeah. Because she was ticked about it.
Right.
Because he killed the neighbor's dog that told him to kill all these other people.
Well.
Right? But the fear in New York in the summer of 77, women were dyeing their hair to not meet the profile of Berkowitz.
Right. You weren't making out in your car.
But, that whole summer, it was all about catching him in New York City.
Yeah.
And I think is that the year the blackout happened too? It was around that same time. I don't want to have to, but there was a lot of stuff happening in New York City.
Wasn't it in 68?
No. I was like 10 years old when the blackout in New York City took place. And I can tell you, in my mind as I was reading this, I was like, okay, Son of Sam, I got to do that, because it's so much was talking about that chase and stuff like that. But I had no idea And I think, oh, that was so long ago. I thought he was going to be gone, and I had no idea he was still alive.
Well,
I can tell you in Florida he wouldn't have been.
Well,
ask Bundy.
Yeah, Teddy.
All right. Guess
We're
what?
wrapping it up.
We got to finish this up, but we got to come back to this topic.
Well, I'm telling you, guys, the moral of the story, if we've got 2 seconds, is that there is a sad randomness to things, and that there are some very, very bad people out there who have no reason to be bad people, and they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they just find a way. They find a reason.
Keep your wits around you. Be safe, be smart, and look over your shoulder. And I don't mean that in a paranoid way, but be aware of your surroundings.
I mean, and we talked about Ted Bundy, and that's just a person that you wouldn't expect.
Right.
You wouldn't expect to be a murderer. Julie, are you looking up the blackout? Was it in 1977? So yeah, that was the same.
1977. Okay.
It was the same year that Son of Sam was going on. And like I said, I was like 10 years old, and I was in Florida.
Right.
And I can remember in Florida seeing the stories, a 10-year-old being scared.
Wow.
And I can't even imagine what it was like being a teenager in New York City.
And 1977, we were 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys
1920.
You guys were in college.
Yeah.
So, hey, guess what? That's the end of our show. Hey, cheers. Great
L'chaim,
show.
my brother, always
Great
a good
show,
one.
great topic.
Always.
Julie, thanks for being here. Blake,
This is
amazing
just
job.
too much fun.
As always.
Mr. Producer.
We appreciate you guys. If you would, hit that share button. Support our sponsors. They're wonderful people.
Tell your friends.
You'll love them, and they'll love you being there. This is Bollox, Talks and Tangents, and we'll be back next week.
Yes, we will.